show of hands, the topic of our first panel this afternoon is going to be access now and access tomorrow. From your perspective, what is your view on the issues that we need to address? What are the questions we need to tackle if we are to really make progress on this issue?
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you very much, Natalie, for inviting me and my respected friend, Minister Hossams Aboumeri. Nice to see you. So this is a very obviously complex challenge with a multifaceted response, maybe. First point is, it brings us back to the question, what is the role of the pharmaceutical industry in improving health for the people? As Natalie was telling, I mean, it's very important to have a vibrant pharmaceutical industry. If you look to the Draghi report, I think on artificial intelligence, honestly, it will be very difficult to catch up with across the ocean. But the pharmaceutical industry is still there. It's very important, but it's also true that there is a bit of a perception that this is a very profitable market, supported a lot by public sources and private health insurances. I believe it's the latest OECD data that even in the United States, 69% of the overall pharmaceutical expenditure is from public sources. So somehow it's normal that the people who pay for the medicines are asking on the added therapeutic value and also is that portfolio matching significant unmet needs. So this is one block. Second block, which is very close to our heart, are the health inequities. I was just by unanimous vote, the 53 Ministers of Health, elected for a second mandate. We're developing the vision for health for the next 5 years in the region. And everything we do has to have equity at its heart. So let's look, for example, in the field of antimicrobials, where there are big issues to have access to both existing and new antibiotics, with a number of market failures, including fragile supply chains, for example, on tendering procedures, which create dependence on a limited number of manufacturers, or fragile supply chains, because there are only a small number of API producers. So this creates, particularly in the region, 53 member states, that lower and middle income countries face prolonged shortages to existing antibiotics when the demand is surging. Now, if we talk about new antibiotics, there are a number of market authorization holders who actually tend to prioritize large and profitable markets. And if you speak about small countries, this is a huge challenge. So we need new and bold approaches. And maybe last point is the point on geopolitics. I think the EU has done, a marvelous job on the joint procurement of the COVID-19 vaccine. But in our daily work with the Global South, there is a deficit on trust. Actually, we discussed this in my first meeting this morning with Commissioner Labib, who is very much on humanitarian dialogue, was mentioning this as well. This trust has to be restored. And a politician will always be elected by the own people. So that's why I speak about the concept of continental resilience, the local stockpiling, the local production. And credit to HERA, who I want to thank also for always when I approach them, being open for supporting Balkan and accession countries. Then Deputy Prime Minister Van den Broeke, who under the Belgian EU presidency launched the Critical Medicines Alliance, but also the African CDC, for example. So this, I think, is very, very important, this equity.
Thank you very much. And you talked there about the need for new and bold approaches. If I was to ask you, we were to meet again in 5 years' time and have this conversation again, what for you would success look like in terms of addressing those very big and complex challenges? As you said, it's a very multifaceted challenge. What would success look like 5 years from now?
I would like to come back to equity. It's really crucial. We have the WHO Barcelona on health financing under the leadership of Director Natasha Azopar-de-Muscat, who is here, doing financial protection studies in the whole region. And we know that between 1 and 14% of households are being pushed into poverty today because they cannot afford medicines as an outpatient. And by the way, in my native country, Belgium here, this becomes also an issue. So everywhere. So success would be bluntly, that no one is being pushed into poverty due to the fact they cannot afford life-saving medicines. So what are we doing in WHO Regional Office for Europe? One important initiative came out of the Oslo Medicines Initiative when I became region director 5 years ago. Norway, richest country in the region, was already thinking about sustainability in the future and told, listen, we need to work towards equitable, sustainable access to high-cost innovative medicines. This initiative evolved into the national medicines, the new medicines platform, a multi-staker. We have 50 member states, 49 non-state actors, patients, payers, all together working on some concrete solutions. For example, a policy toolkit which offers some alternative options, like for the 11 small countries looking to optimized joint procurement. The other one, we're living in the age of digital health solution, artificial intelligence. If we would, let's say, have more consistent use of electronic prescribing systems, this would already tremendously help in surveillance of access to antibiotics, or optimizing the use and putting decision support tools into electronic health records. That would really optimize prescribing patterns, that people can have the right antibiotic at the right time for the right indication, etc. But the collaborative element is very important.
So very much underlining that message Natalie delivered at the beginning, and you mentioned there the digital age and artificial intelligence. We're going to hear in a little while about how artificial intelligence is revolutionizing health research. Just in terms of, we always tend to talk about what you want from policymakers. You know, industry will come and say, we'd like you to do this and not. I want to turn that round for my final question to you and say, what do you want from people in this room? We have representatives of a lot of stakeholders in the health community here today. Is there something you would ask of them?
Absolutely. It's a great chance, Jackie. So, first and foremost, stakeholder concerns is not a one-way, right? I mean, who are my stakeholders? The 53 member states, and Dr. Hossam's Aboumeri one representatives, who ultimately are the main one purchasing the medicines and paying for those. In turn, they are accountable to the people who elect democratic governments, who also are paying the public systems through either taxes or insurance contributions, and who legitimately demand access to high-quality medicines and care. So, in that sense, I would say the wish or the demand is cooperation, but cooperation looking at socially and ethically responsible solutions. It is completely unacceptable if a mother alone would have to choose between sending my child, to the school and having education, or to pay for an expensive medicine for a rare disease. And we are living in a geopolitical, very tense world. So I think, please support the new medicines platform, and thank you to EFPIA for being also a great supporter, because we need really cohesive policies for a strong Europe. And I want to finish here with an example of my respected colleague and minister, Dr. Hossams Aboumeri. I was in Latvia recently, where I saw which a trust it created, that people had to pay 14 to 20% less, for medicines. The trust is very important. If I know that I'm going to be taken care of, whatever happens, I will trust the government. Actually, I remember, Minister, that we were walking on the street in beautiful Latvia, and the people were telling, oh, the president is there, remember? Trust is very important, and you can create it, but you have to co-create it.
So again, we come back, co-creation, collaboration,
yes.
Cooperation, working together is the only way we will find the solutions to those huge challenges you outlined.
Recognizing that we have different mandates, but we always have to come back to the most vulnerable, to leaving no one behind.
And you also raise a crucial question there of who needs to do what and the different responsibilities of all the people. As you say, different mandates, different roles.
Yes.
We will come back to that in our discussion. Will you join me in thanking Hans very much indeed?
Thank you. Thank you.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much.